Hello student, welcome to Makli Digital School and Home Tuitions. Today we are going to look a common mistake when answering physics paper 1 and paper 2, that is physics theory, and how it's supposed to be answered. I always emphasize that exam is all about rules and following the rules and regulation. Exam usually test rules, that's only. The first thing that exam tests is the rules, followed by content. So, physics paper 1 and paper 2, paper 1 usually has 80 marks and paper 2 has 80 marks, just like the normal sciences, that is chemistry and biology. So, the key areas that you are going to look is number 1, how the physics question is set. The physics question, it contains 3 parts. Number 1 is known as the statement question. Number 1 is known as the statement question. Number 2 is known as the numerical question, and the diagrammatical question. That's the 3. Also, there's a language of physics used. Tutaangalia terms used, question involving magnetic and electric field lines, misconception about the students, diagrams, tackling numerical equations, question involving ray diagram, question involving graphs, experimental equations, and among others. So we are going to look this one by one. So I hope you look with me as I dive this important part. So let's start with the language of physics examination. Common terms include: in case question ask distinguish, differentiate, or contrast, how do you answer? So ukiambiwa distinguish, differentiate, or contrast to show the difference between two things or terms, e.g. mechanical and electromagnetic wave, fission and fusion, answer should be in continuous prose. Answer should be in continuous prose. This is keyword. Otherwise use T table. Answer lazima ikuwe prose. Kuandika in prose form. Yani kama paragraph tu. In paragraph form. Kama huwezi tumia hiyo, tumia table. T-table. T-table inamaanisha is a table with only one line kwa katikati. T-table ni hiyo. Then unaandika kama unataka kuandika fusion hii side, andika fusion na uandike fission hii side. So same features should be discussed. The same features should be discussed. So unajua lazima useme nini? The similarities and differences. Compare and contrast. Compare inamaanisha give the similarities by stating the common features. Ukisikia compare ni hivyo. Compare is strictly asking you to state the similarities. Contrast is strictly giving the differences between. You give the difference first step, then you give the similar features. For example, the eye and the camera. That is from forward. Explain and observation. Give a systematic detail and detailed account about something. Explain the working principle of device, e.g. the working of an electric bell. So give it how this electric bell works. You explained in systematic way. Observation is anything that is detectable by 5 normal common sense and it should be systematic. For example, in case nikukwambia these are two people, two girls, for example, one wearing high heel shoes and another one wearing a normal shoes. So what is the observation? First of all, the observation umeona nini? Observation is the one that is high-heeled and the one with flat shoes. That's the observation. Then after that, we will explain what will happen to that with high-heel shoes in case kama wanatembea mahali tuseme mahali muddy place. So the high-heel shoes sasa on a small area ambayo iko, hence ina increase pressure, hence ita sink. That's how you're supposed to explain. Let's go to show difference between the hii tuliangalia just repetition. State, list or name. So for example kitu kama factors and characteristic, unaweza state the characteristic, state the factor, state factors or list factors. Law, state the law, principles, functions. Also these are a very important part. So please don't number them. Don't number them. Then when we are talking about this, tutaona huko mbele, but for example if question involve state the principle or state the law, just go ahead and define and state that law. When stating factors or characteristic, when stating factors or characteristic, state the factor without explaining. We just state the factor without explaining. Also, restrict yourself to the number of factors or characteristic required. Nimekuambia nini? Restrict yourself to the number of factors. Kama ni 2 factors, 2 factors. 3 characteristic, 3 characteristic. Otherwise, in case kama wewe ni unataka kuandika answer mingi, don't number them. Don't commit yourself to number it. Some important factors to be mastered is factors affecting pressure in fluid, factors affecting surface tension, factors affecting stability of an object, factors affecting capacitance, factors affecting the strength of an electromagnet, factors affecting the size of force on a conductor carrying current, factors affecting heating effect of an electric current, melting and a boiling point of substance, speed of sound, photoelectric effect, and the size of induced EMF. Definition of terms. When you define a term, strictly use the keyword must be used. The keyword must be used. Do not use the same word to define itself. For example, what do I mean? In case one will define the term pressure, define the term pressure. Don't say pressure is. Don't repeat yourself. Just say that it is. Pressure is. Wachana hiyo. Is the force acting per unit, normally per unit area. Just that. Meaning must come out clearly. Lazima meaning ikuje clearly. Never use terms you are not sure about. Avoid it. Do not interchange words. E.g. refraction, reflection and reflection should not be interchanged. Reflection and refraction should not be interchanged because refraction is bending and reflection is a bouncing back of light. So it should not be interchanged. Some common terms to define the pressure, moment of force. Easy unaweza ulizwa tu udefine any of them. Unaweza ambia udefine. So easy: pressure, moment of force, center of gravity, capacitance, magnification, and electromagnetic work, power, the Munich emission, current, EMF, moment of force, center of gravity, capacitance, magnification, and easy unaweza, you can just screenshot. Distinguish between the two terms or quantities. This also unaweza ulizwa. Mass, heat, distinguish between mass and weight. Distinguish between heat and temperature. Stable and unstable. Streamline and turbulent flow. Real and virtue. Also primary cell and secondary cell. This is unaweza soft ray and hard rays, hard X-rays. So should be stated verbatimly. When you are writing about principles or laws, should be stated verbatimly. What do I mean? I mean it should be written as exactly the way it is in textbook. For example, if it is state the pressure, state the law of magnification of magnetic. In case of any law or any principle, it should be stated the way that is written in textbook. Laws or principle operate under certain condition must be stated. For example, what's this topic called? And this from two topic known as Hooke's law. Hooke's law. Hooke's law, Hooke defined, provided that elastic limit is not exceeded. Elastic limit is not exceeded. That is the condition hasa. Certain condition. It's not exceeded. So kama hujataja hiyo condition, you better not answer that question because hakuna kitu utapata. So you must say the condition under which the law operate must be accredited. Ni hasa must be stated. Confusing law or principles with similar wording. For example, these are from 4. Law of flotation and Archimedes principle. Usually confuse. So go and check the differences. Also, what we look is this is the law among the laws unazambia who state Pascal principle of moment, Hooke's law, Bernoulli's principle, basic law of electrostatic, basic law of magnetism, Faraday's law, Lenz's law, Snell's law. Those are very important. Experimental question: describe an experiment or outline the steps. So give a step-by-step and instructive procedure. Especially utaona, especially physics paper 1, utaona almost kila question it has that experiment question that you're supposed to describe. So you have to list the apparatus, diagram must be labeled, diagram must be correct, and I think you mean you know what I mean. They must be correct. Conventional symbols should be used. Procedures will be systematic. Also tables state how the data obtained shall be used. Expected graph, in case of graph, conclusion, statement from findings or formula. Also illustrate, describe with the aid of an experiment. In case question imekuuliza describe with the aid of diagram, I mean with the aid of diagram, you must first of all draw the diagram. After that you describe. That's why you follow the instruction. Describe with the aid of diagram. Unaandika tu vitu zako pekee. Let's go. Magnetic and electric field lines. So magnetic patterns, direction and properties of field lines. Misconception about watoto wana confuse usually charges and poles. Also movement of negative charges and redistribution of positive charges. Quantity of final charge and original charge. Induced EMF and current. So remember that we don't induce current, we induce EMF. Also the student confuse neutralize and discharge, totally different. Failure to interpret the symbols, e.g. dot and crosses. So dot inamaanisha nini? Ni in, cross ni out. You have to interpret. Fleming left and right hand rule. So wakati gani nafaa nitumie left hand, wakati gani nafaa nitumie nini? Right hand. Very important. Loudspeakers and the microphone. Loudspeaker and microphone tofauti pia, tofauti. Also the motor and the generator, also they are different. Flux leakage and flux linkage, also they are different. Stepping up voltage, not the current. We don't step up current, we step up the voltage. Sketch. In case question asking sketch of diagram or graph, no accuracy is required first of all. So also it will be given should be given a clear picture or main feature must be shown. Draw and label. Diagram must be clearly labeled and proportional. Lazima ikuwe label. Graph should be drawn to good scale. Condition for the scale mark to apply. For example, lazima graph ikuwe nini? Ikuwe na scale. Scale yani ile inaweza cover na quarter of the page. Label should not carry any other possible meaning. Look at this also. State and explain your observation. state the observation. What is an observation? You have to state the observation. Now, tumesema observation nini? What you can, something that is detectable by your common sense. So after me state, then give a reason or explanation for the observation using clear scientific terms. You have to use clear scientific terms. Explanation should be systematic. An explanation of an observation is observations made, e.g., motion of conductor, carrying current in a magnetic field, deflection of galvanometer. These are common observations. Also, explain why commercial vehicles have many wheels, even by pressure. Explain why small insects are able to walk on the surface of water. Tackling numerical questions. Determine, find, or calculate. When tackling numerical questions, write appropriate formula. Formula, not expression. Please and please. This is one of the common mistakes that common avoidable mistake that the student commit themselves. That is, there is a difference between formula and expression. Formula, it has equal sign. For example, if I want to write pressure, it is equals to force over area. Force over area. So this is the pressure. So this is the formula of pressure. But mechanical F over A, F over A. So this is the expression. This is expression, not formula, and this will not be marked. Will not be marked. So what's very important is write formula, please. And formula, it has equal sign. Always work in SI unit. Lazima work in SI unit. For example, kama ni pressure, force will be Newton, and area should be meter squared. In case one is not working in SI unit, write the unit you are working with. Simple. Question testing on SI unit, state the SI unit in words and not simple, please and please. For example, in case question ask define volume and state it is SI unit. So volume is the amount of space occupied by matter. It is SI unit is meter cubic. Meter cubic in words, not simples. The moment umeandika hivi meter cubic hivi, you will not score. It should be in words. Question testing on SI unit. Also read the question carefully before answering it. Do not invent your own question, please. Just read. You have time. 2 hours is more. It's enough time. When waliweka hiyo 2 hours hiyo paper hawakuwa wajinga. So just read the question carefully before answering. Do not invent your own question. The number of points or answers are picked on. Formula statement. Some statements are treated as formula, are awarded accordingly. For example, kuna statements zingine ukiandika ni kama tu formula na marks wanapata tu. For example, clockwise moment is equals to anti-clockwise moment. In case student kama angeandika F1 D1 is equals to F2 D2 angepata pia. Sawa sawa? Lakini kama ameandika in statement form iko sawa pia. Heat loss equals heat gain, after that is equals to weight of fluid displaced, momentum before collision is equals to momentum after collision, volume of air drop is equals to volume of the is equals to volume of air patch. Show that. So for example, if the question asks to prove of formula, for example, if question ask to prove rho inaitwa rho hg ya pressure. So if the question asking you to prove this, it must be proved in systematic way, one by one. Consider this. Clear working should be proceed as follows. Hii lazima ikuwe clear working. Convert 2 kg to newtons. Tumekwambia 2 kg to newtons. So hii swali ndio nilikuwa naanza. So 2 kg to newtons ni weight is equals to mass times gravity. First mark. 2 kg times 10, 1 mark. Another mark. 3 marks total. So you don't supposed to display your clear working. Don't display your clear working. What you're supposed to display is the systematic way. Systematic. For example, if a student write like this, kama mwanafunzi ameandika 2 times 10, 20 Newton. Conversion of units: milliammeter, milligram, millisecond. Also milli kitu yote ya milli ni 10 power negative 3. Micro ni 10 power negative 6. Kilo ni 10 power 3. Mega ni 10 power 6. Very important. If question require a unit to be stated, it should be in word, not simple. Hiyo nimerudia ya pili pia. Question kama inahitaji unit to be stated, it should be words. State, umeambiwa state, just state it in words, not symbols. Usitumie symbols. A question requiring two formulas, they mark at the formula. The question requiring two formula, they mark at the formula leading to final. For example, yeah, this question, it has 2 marks. It has 2 marks. Then lakini swali iko na step 3. So whatever that's marked is the formula and the final answer. I think umeelewa. Nakwambia nini? Kama question inahitaji steps more than 3 na question iko na 2 marks. The first mark is inamarkiwa nini? The formula and the final answer. So substitution pia lazima upitie, but question with subsequent parts show some acceptable working for the leading section. Use the answer in the leading question correctly. For example, kama unatumia especially hizi questions za part B, wacha kwanza nitarudia hiyo kidogo. Writing the correct formula, not an expression. So this is an expression. So u angefaa andika sasa is equals to v squared. V squared is equals to u squared plus 2as. That's the formula. But this expression huyu hakuna kitu tutapata atako kosa. Do not write substitution using answer in the leader question. Work out final question to the correct. So what do I mean this? For example, question A, section B. Question A, section B. Haye. Question equals section B. For example, you made an error in A. You made an error in A. Then B, answer ya B inahitaji answer ya utumie nini? The answer of ama figure umepata kutoka A. Tumia tu hiyo figure yako. So when marking sasa, this A utakosa, this A utakosa, but this error inatolewa from here, inaletwa from B and it is marked correctly. So kama hapa ilikuwa na 2 marks, you only lose 2 marks out of 10. I think you umeelewa hiyo. Yeah. Use the answer in the leading. Also work out the final answer to the correct significant figures and SI unit. For example, kama swali inauliza 3 significant, must be 3 significant. 4 significant must be 4. SI unit lazima ikuwe its correct SI unit. Equation for effective resistance and capacitance. Kama resistance ni parallel ni hii na series ni hii. Capacitance series ni hii, parallel ni hii. Get the difference. Very important part and very common question for paper 2. Ray diagram. Ray diagram also it's very common. Real rays must have direction. Lazima hiyo. And I emphasize on this. Real rays must have direction or arrows. Real rays must be drawn for continuous line. Real lazima ichore kwa continuous. Rays direction is indicated after the source. It's indicated after the source. Virtual rays are drawn with broken lines. Virtual rays has no direction. Rays must be straight. No thick rays. Use a sharp pencil. Wanasemanga tu wacha tu nichore. Wanatumia kalamu nyingine kubwa. So that you notice how my friend, the pencil must be sharp enough. Lazima uwe sharp. Not repeat the line or double line. For example, watu pia wanarudia. Don't repeat. Correct symbol for a curved mirror and then lenses should be used. Question involving graph. Rule number 1, which is very important. Never leave a hanging graph. Extrapolate to cut either or both axes. What do I mean? If my graph look like this, imejitokeza hivi, tuseme imejitokeza hivi, usiwahi acha hivi. Now I'm talking about the straight lines, ujue straight lines. So you have to extrapolate it. Refusha ikate moja. So you're supposed to not leave any hanging graph in physics, or otherwise you will commit yourself avoidable mistakes. Number 2 is when working with gradient, remember factors like 10 power 14. For example, this is a photoelectric. Kama photoelectric tuseme hapa hiyo x axis tuko na 10 power 14 kitu kama hii, ama y axis 10 power 14. So usually student wanachukua tu ile figure iko hapa tu, usisahau hii 10 power 14 tafadhali, don't forget it. Label the axis and give the unit for the quantities. So lazima label the axis, x axis and y axis, label. Scale must be uniform, lazima ikuwe uniform, ikuwe the same yani on both side. Simple and accommodative. What do I mean accommodative? Accommodative ni it must accommodate your point that you are given. The point uko nayo lazima ya accommodate. Plotting point must be visible. And we have, when we are talking about plotting point, we have only 2 plotting point in physics. We have only 2 plotting point in physics. Number 1 is this, the cross. Sorry. Number 1 is the cross. Number 2 is the dotted. So ukiwa umeandika dot sasa you circle. I think you are getting it. You circle. So that's the only 2 plotting point that you have in physics. The scale must be, plotted point must be visible. Line should not cover them. So line should not cover them. Yeah, line of the graph should not cover them. So let's make it visible kitu inaonekana. Don't break any of the axis. Intercept, break any of the axis. Msilete mambo ya mathematics hapa saizi. We are not talking about mathematics. Break inamaanisha nini? For example, usiwahi tumia kitu kama hii. Then useme hivi. Hii breakage haitakani physics. Don't need kama mathematics hiyo. Intercept should be read accurately. Don't draw a thick line. So the intercept lazima ikue umesoma accurate. For example, kama hii ni intercept. For example, kama hii graph yako nakata hivi. Just read it. Ile iko tu read y intercept. Must show clearly how the graph was used, e.g. gradient. Kama kuna gradient unatumia tu ile triangle. Yeah. Unless it is curve. Kama ni curve unasema hivi. Kama graph ni curve, for example, kama graph ni curve, tunachora tangent about the point. First of all, you identify the point, then unachora sorry. So unachora tangent sasa, line tangent. That this is your triangle, as you're supposed to use this triangle then. So for x-intercept intercept must be clear. Tangent at the point shown and gradient determined. Also, vertical and horizontal line show for the K curve in radioactivity when determining half-life. So vertical and horizontal line shown for the K curve when determining half-life. So you must show clearly how the graph is used. When working out of the gradient statement should be written in full. So the gradient should be written in full. The point of extraction on the graph should be shown using a triangle. Substitution of the extracted point should be evident. Lazima ikuwe evident, uonyeshe evidence. Gradient at a point on a graph, tangent is shown. Hii ya tangent nimeonyesha hapa pia. This tangent utachora. Nimeonyesha. Also, graph should cover at least two-thirds of the page. Very important, two-thirds of the page. ama ukisema three quarter iko sawa. Graph in physics should never have broken axis since the intercept are significant. Broken axis nimekuambia ni ile ya mathematics, hiyo usiwahi kuwa nayo. So another thing is other areas for structured questions. Comprehend your answer before you write it down. Please understand your answer before ujaandika. Be careful with answer which comes very fast in your head. Never leave an alternative answer. Usiwahi acha alternative answer. Lakini in case you cancel and ujaandika any alternative answer, cancel work will be marked if no alternative. For example, kama hii ndio question. Ilikuwa weight is equal to mass times gravity. Weight yako ilikuwa 5 times 10 and 50 newton, au cancel. Na ujaandika answer nyingine. Kama hii answer iko right, it will be marked. The first mark, the second mark, and then utapata na 3 marks. You must give more than answers than required. Never number, never block or separate your answer with comma. What do I mean? For example, kama swali nauliza state the factors affecting surface tension. Number 1 umeandika impurity. This is impurity. Then umeandika energy and temperature. Swali ni 2 marks, lakini umeandika 3 na huja number sio. So the examiner will mark this and this. Na atakuwekea 2 marks. The moment lakini you number it. Umeweka hapa number 1 na umeweka number 2. Na hii umeweka number 3. Unapata hii na unakosa hii. Then the examiner will underline the energy because inahitajika 2 marks na unapata 1 marks hapa. I think umenipata. I think I am clear. Numerical answers should never express in fraction form unless it's required. That's why I usually advise students physics answers should be in decimal form, not in fraction form, unless it's required. For example, kama question ni 25 out of 75, mtu ameandika 25 over 75 amepata 1 over 3 meter squared. You will not get marks, my friend. You utakosa. Na hii utapata. Lakini kama question inahitaji in fraction form, iko sawa, utapata answer because you follow the instruction. So should be expressed in four significant figure unless otherwise. This is always for every place. Lazima answer yako expressed in four significant figure unless you have specific. Lakini mostly for Kcse, most of the Kcse questions they have that instruction. Kwa sababu gani? For uniformity of the answers. Lazima hiyo Kcse wanafanya most of the answers 90% wanakuwekea nini? Wanakuwekea instruction 3 significant figure, 4 significant figure. Lakini in case kama hawajakuwekea pia iko sawa, lakini you have to express into 4 significant figure. So that's all about our lesson. Welcome to Makli Digital School. Make sure that you subscribe the channel to get more information about physics, chemistry, mathematics, and biology. Make sure that you subscribe and you smash the like button. Remember that 1 like is equal to 1 prayer in YouTube algorithm. Bye bye. See you another time.